What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, you picked a good one. We're diving deep into the world of the Boston Celtics and a couple of Eurobasket matchups that got us thinking a little bit differently about what's coming this NBA season. So grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's talk hoops. Let's kick things off with something that's been flying under the radar for some fans, but has started to make a lot more noise if you're paying attention. Neemias Queta's offseason. The man has been quietly putting together one of the more impressive Eurobasket runs we've seen from a Celtics role player in a while. And listen, it's one thing to shine against second-tier competition or to rack up stats in garbage time. But what Queta's doing right now? He's going toe-to-toe with legit NBA bigs and holding his own. So yesterday, it was Portugal versus Latvia, a matchup that, on paper, might not make you stop scrolling, but it had some serious juice to it for Celtics fans. On one side, we've got Queta, a guy still trying to carve out his role in the NBA, and on the other side, Kristaps Porzingis, a guy we know very well. These two didn't just share the court, they battled. And it wasn't just the stats, it was the energy, the physicality, and the intensity. You could feel that these two guys weren't just showing up for a friendly run overseas. They were trying to prove something. Now let's look at what actually went down. Latvia got the win. No question there, 78-62. A solid team effort on their end, and Porzingis came out swinging. He dropped 21 points, grabbed 9 boards, dished out 3 assists, and shot 5 of 12 from beyond the arc. That's 12 of his 14 total shots coming from deep. That alone tells you where his confidence is right now. And honestly, it's refreshing to see. After the injuries, the weird shutdown last season, and all the uncertainty about his future, it's kind of great to see KP out there looking like himself again. But let's not brush past Queta here. The guy went for 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 blocks, and an assist. He shot 7 of 12 from the field and showed some serious poise inside the paint. Sure, he didn't knock down a 3, but he wasn't out there chucking. It was a calculated game. And for a guy who spent most of last season either buried at the end of the bench or bouncing between assignments, this kind of showing matters. Let's rewind for a second, because if you've been following Queta, you know he's been slowly building toward this. In Portugal's first Eurobasket game, he went off for 23 points and 18 boards. Since then, Portugal dropped a couple of Serbia and Turkey, and Queta didn't look great against Jokic. But honestly, who does? Against Alperen Sengun, though, he held his ground. And then this matchup with Porzingis, another established NBA big, and again, he showed out. We're talking 3 of 4 games in double figures, and not in some fluky, inflated way. These are earned buckets. These are second chance points, contested finishes, strong screens, and pick-and-roll reads. Look, I'll be real. I didn't come into this offseason thinking much about Neemias Queta. We saw flashes. A couple of nice putbacks, a few solid defensive rotations when he got minutes. But there was never a point last season where I looked at the Celtics' big rotation and thought, yep, we're good with Queta if one of the starters goes down. It just wasn't there yet. Mazzulla clearly didn't trust him in key moments, and that made sense at the time. But this summer has been different. It's one thing to improve your conditioning or work on your jumper in the gym. It's another to go into a live international setting against grown men, many of whom are in or near NBA-caliber rotation spots, and produce consistently. That's what Queta's doing. He's showing that he's not just a big body. You can run real minutes through him. That's a shift in conversation. The Celtics frontcourt, as it stands, has question marks. You've got Horford, who's a legend and still smart as hell on both ends, but also nearing the end. Then there's KP. When he's on, he stretches the floor and unlocks the whole system. But again, health, always a factor. So if you're telling me that we can start to pencil in Queta as not just emergency depth, but as an actual rotation piece, that changes the math. It lets you breathe a little easier. And it's not just about stats, it's about presence. Queta has looked more confident, more vocal, more in control of the game. That matters, especially for a guy who, for the most part, has been in the background since he came into the league. He's 26 years old, not exactly a baby in NBA terms, but also not an old vet. He's in that in-between space where either you start figuring things out or you start looking at two-way contracts for the rest of your career. He knows it, and he's playing like it. Now, let's pivot back to Porzingis for a second. Because, man, it's been a weird year for him. When the Celtics made that move to bring him in, it felt like we were getting a different version of KP. Not the unicorn from New York, not the injured star from Dallas, but this new hybrid who had adjusted his game, gotten smarter, figured out how to be effective without needing the ball every possession. And to be fair, when he was healthy, he was exactly that. His ability to space the floor, block shots, and give the Celtics a different look than what Horford and Time Lord brought. It gave Boston another level. But then came the mystery injury, or illness, or whatever it was that kept him sidelined. And the postseason was brutal. Not because he was bad when he played, but because he couldn't stay on the floor. The Celtics still made their run, but that ceiling we all saw, it vanished without Porzingis being at full strength. That's just the reality. He was supposed to be the X factor, the reason Boston could finally overwhelm teams with size and spacing. Instead, we got flashes. One great quarter here, a monster block there, but it wasn't enough. So to see him back, healthy, and firing away in Eurobasket, that's a win. That's something to feel good about, even if it stings a little knowing he's not in green anymore. Now, yeah, he's headed to Atlanta. And I'm not going to pretend I'm suddenly a Hawks fan, because I'm not. But if he stays healthy, he's going to help them. A lot. Playing next to Onyeka Okongwu gives them some real front court flexibility. Trae Young is going to get him wide open looks. And defensively, Porzingis can still impact games. He's not some washed-up stretch five. He's still got game. He just needs to stay on the court. And look, I'm not ruling out a reunion. I know that sounds wild, but hear me out. It's the last year of his contract. He made his money. He built relationships in Boston, not just with the team, but with guys like Jaylen Brown. Those two were tight. That stuff matters. You don't build that kind of chemistry every day. And if Atlanta flames out or goes a different direction next summer, don't be shocked if KP considers a return. Maybe not on that $30+ million deal, but something more team-friendly, more sustainable. We've seen stranger things. At the end of the day, what this Eurobasket window has shown me is that both of these guys, Quetta and Porzingis, are worth watching closely this season. They're on different paths, different roles, but both have something to prove. KP wants to show he can stay healthy and still be a difference maker on a team that needs direction. Quetta wants to prove he belongs, not just as a fringe NBA guy, but as a legitimate rotational big who can give you real minutes on a team with title aspirations. And if you're the Celtics, you have to be paying attention. This is exactly the kind of off-season growth you hope for from your depth pieces. Everyone knows what Tatum and Brown bring. We've seen it. But it's the guys like Quetta that can tip the scale when injuries hit or matchups shift. You need those contributors ready to step in, not just in practice, but in big moments. That's what separates contenders from champions. And listen, if you've been riding with this team for the last few years, you know how close they've been. A bounce here, a shot there. This team has been the mix. What they need now is reliability and depth. Quetta is making a case. It's still early, and the real test will be when training camp hits and the NBA season gets rolling. But for now, he's done everything you could ask of him. And Porzingis? Same deal. He's reminding everyone that when he's right, he's a problem. Stretch five, rim protector, high IQ passer. He's not just a novelty act anymore. He could be the piece that pushes a team from play-in territory to a legitimate playoff run. We'll see how it all plays out, but one thing's for sure. Celtics fans have more reason than ever to keep a close eye on Eurobasket, and even on what's happening in Atlanta. The ripple effects from this summer could stretch all the way into spring. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the thing that had NBA Twitter on fire this week. LeBron James and that commercial. I know some of you might have seen it already, and if you haven't, trust me, you're going to want to. I'm not even sure what the original intention was. Maybe it was supposed to be epic, inspirational, maybe even heartfelt. But what we got, man, it felt like a Burger King ad with $1 billion budget. Picture this. It's moody, it's cinematic. You've got the voice of a child narrating over LeBron's highlights. You see him walking through tunnels, getting ready like he's about to conquer the universe. And then, right at the end, the big dramatic moment, he puts on a crown. And the screen fades to black with the words, "Forever King." And I'm just sitting there like, bro, what are we doing here? Now don't get me wrong. LeBron's resume? It's unreal. Nobody's denying the numbers. He's been playing pro ball since 2003, and he's still putting up stats like he's in year 12, not year 22. He just finished another season averaging 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists, shooting 37% from deep. That's not a washed vet hanging on for one last contract. That's a Hall of Famer still putting in elite-level work. But man, you don't need to tell us you're the king. We already know. You don't need to show us you've conquered the game. The numbers, the rings, the longevity, it's all already there. And that's the thing with LeBron, right? It's not about his talent. That's settled. It's about the way he carries it. The branding, the image, the constant need to frame the narrative. Like, I get it. In today's media world, everyone's trying to control their story. But sometimes it just feels forced. Like, we're not talking about a movie trailer here. We're talking about a guy who has already earned his place in the basketball pantheon. The crown doesn't need to be placed on your own head. It's already there. And this just goes back to that ongoing GOAT conversation. The one we've all been in a million times, LeBron versus Jordan. And yeah, sometimes Kobe and Kareem get thrown in, and occasionally someone brings up Bill Russell just to stir the pot. But LeBron? He's always been loud about it. He's told us he's the GOAT. Remember that interview when he said the 2016 finals made him the greatest ever? He said it out loud, with a camera in front of him. And ever since, it's like he's been doubling down. Compare that to Jordan. MJ didn't go around saying he was the greatest. He just showed up, destroyed everybody in front of him, racked up 6 rings, and let the world argue about it. That mystery added to the myth. LeBron is more of an open book. And I get it, different eras, different personalities, different media environments. But at some point, you've got to let the legacy speak for itself. Now, let me be crystal clear. I'm not one of those Jordan-only truthers. I grew up watching both. I've seen the best of both worlds. Jordan had the killer instinct, the perfect finals record, and the cultural impact that shifted the NBA into a global force. But LeBron? His body of work is unmatched. He's been the face of the league for 2 decades. 20 years of 25-plus points per game. Year after year of top 10 MVP voting. Championships in 3 different cities. Olympic golds. A complete statistical mountain of dominance. You don't have to be a LeBron fan to admit that. You just need eyes. Let's talk MVP voting for a second, because this man's consistency is insane. In his rookie year, he finishes 9th. Then he goes 6th, 2nd, 5th, 4th, and then wins 4 MVPs across 5 seasons. That stretch from 2008 to 2013, it was LeBron's league. Nobody else came close. And even after that, he's still in the top 3 multiple times. He finishes 2nd, 3rd, 2nd again. Even last season, year 21, he finished 6th. 6th? That's nuts. You got guys 10 years younger breaking down mid-season while he's still putting up elite numbers. And I know some people will say, well, he only has 4 rings. And sure, that matters in the conversation. Rings do count, but context counts too. Jordan never had to go through a team like the Warriors in the finals. LeBron faced that dynasty 4 straight times. He beat a 73-win version of that squad with a Game 7 comeback and the most iconic chase-down block in NBA history. He didn't run from the smoke. He lived in it. Still, even with all that in mind, I go back to the commercial, because that's the part that sticks with me. The decision to call yourself Forever King. It's not about confidence. That's not what's annoying. It's the self-mythologizing. It's the need to declare it instead of just letting it be. Because when you're really that guy, you don't need to tell us. We already know. All that said, we're watching the end of an era in real time. LeBron's got maybe a year or 2 left at this level. Maybe 3 if he's lucky. He wants to play with Bronny. He's chasing longevity records now. And he's going to break every last one of them. Total points? Already his. Playoff scoring? Already his. Minutes, assists, steals, you name it, he's in the top 5. But as his career starts winding down, the spotlight changes. We stop analyzing every stat and start zooming out. What did it all mean? What did he leave behind? That's the part LeBron's trying to script, and I get it. He doesn't want the ending to be out of his control. But my advice? Just hoop. You've done enough already. Let the debates rage on. Let fans argue in barbershops and comment sections for the next 50 years. You've already secured your seat at the table. You don't need to narrate your greatness. We're already living in it. Now, while we're talking about legacy and lasting impressions, I want to pivot real quick to a smaller, funnier headline, but one that actually has some sneaky significance. Thanasis Antetokounmpo, yes, Giannis's brother, just signed another deal with the Bucks. And look, I'm not here to slander Thanasis. The guy works hard, he's a great teammate, and there's clearly value in having him around the locker room. But come on, this is textbook nepotism. Let's call it what it is. There is no other player in the league who would still have a roster spot with Thanasis's resume, unless his last name was Antetokounmpo. And we all know exactly what this is. It's a message. It's Giannis Insurance. It's the front office saying, hey, we'll keep your family close. You're our guy. Don't go anywhere. And it might work. Giannis has already flirted with the idea of moving on, and locking down his brother might be enough to keep those conversations quiet for now. But it also puts Milwaukee in a weird spot, because this isn't just a PR move. This affects the roster. They're going to have to make a choice here. Bring in Thanasis, and someone else has to go. And the names floating around aren't nobodies. We're talking about real rotation potential. Guys like Amir Coffey, who's got solid two-way potential and has shown flashes in limited roles. If the Bucks have to cut someone like that just to keep the family happy, that's tough. That's a real basketball decision made for non-basketball reasons. And hey, Brad Stevens, if you're listening and Amir Coffey ends up out there, make the call. You know what to do. That's a guy who can help. Smart defender, underrated shooter, high motor. Perfect fit in a Celtics system that values versatility and effort. But anyway, back to the point. Nepotism is alive and well in the NBA. We all know it. And this Thanasis thing is just the latest example. It's not the end of the world, but it's definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Especially if Milwaukee hits a rough patch or Giannis starts making noise again about his future. Every move matters now. And while we're on the topic of player movement, arenas, and futures, let's talk about the Celtics and this idea that they might want their own building. Because that rumor's been gaining steam lately, and I think it's worth exploring. Right now, they share TD Garden with the Bruins. That's always been a bit of a weird setup. Hockey team technically owns the building. Basketball team is just the tenant. That limits flexibility. Game scheduling, renovations, locker room upgrades. All that stuff becomes a negotiation instead of a decision. So if you're ownership and you're thinking long-term about the Celtics as a brand, a business, and a championship contender, maybe it does make sense to explore building your own arena. A space built for basketball. A space that can reflect the franchise's identity without having to share the spotlight. You look at what teams like the Warriors have done with Chase Center in San Francisco. It's a whole experience, not just a court and some seats. It's retail, it's restaurants, it's offices, it's culture. The Celtics could build something like that and make it a Boston landmark. There's even talk about potential locations. Seaport has come up, Post Office Square, even Somerville out near Assembly. And honestly, any of those could work. Seaport's got the vibe, Somerville has the space, and downtown keeps you rooted in the city's heartbeat. The key is finding a place that lets the Celtics stretch out, build something iconic, and make sure they're not just borrowing someone else's building for another 20 years. We'll see where that goes. Nothing's imminent, but the idea is out there. And with the way the NBA is growing as both a sport and a business, you can bet teams are going to keep looking for ways to control their environments. The Celtics are no different. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The Boston Celtics are reportedly in turmoil after a shocking outburst from head coach Joe Mazzulla, whose fiery remarks have sent ripples through the NBA community. Sources close to the team suggest that tensions reached a boiling point following a heated practice session that allegedly left Mazzulla publicly denouncing a key player, claiming that he would never step on the court with him again. Insiders hint that the confrontation may have stemmed from repeated miscommunications, strategic disagreements, or personal conflicts that escalated beyond control. While the team has not issued an official statement, Whispers from locker room insiders indicate that this was not a momentary flare-up but part of a pattern of friction that has reportedly been simmering for weeks. Fans are speculating endlessly on social media, dissecting every gesture, every grimace captured on cameras during practice or press appearances, as rumors circulate that this internal strife could affect not only team chemistry, but also the Celtics' playoff prospects. Analysts are debating whether Mazzulla's comments were fueled by frustration over recent losses, mounting pressure from management, or deeper underlying issues within the roster, creating an atmosphere thick with speculation and uncertainty. The saga appears far from over, with observers predicting further fallout in the coming days. The situation has reportedly ignited an intense media frenzy, as insiders claim that the rift between Mazzulla and the player in question has become the focal point of speculation in Boston and across national sports outlets. Sources suggest that this confrontation was marked by a level of intensity rarely seen in modern professional basketball, with teammates allegedly caught between loyalty to their coach and empathy for their colleague. Rumors circulating online suggest that Mazzulla's statement about never sharing the court with the player may not only reflect personal frustration, but could also signal potential lineup changes, benching decisions, or even a deeper reassessment of team strategy. Observers argue that the optics of a head coach openly expressing such anger could damage morale and complicate the Celtics' pursuit of a championship. Though some insiders insist that Mazzulla is known for his intense emotional style and that this outburst may be a calculated expression meant to motivate rather than punish. Social media platforms are overflowing with speculation, fan theories, and imagined scenarios as thousands of Celtics supporters dissect interviews, tweets, and leaks, attempting to piece together the true scope of the conflict and predict how it will influence upcoming matchups. While no official disciplinary action has been reported, sources hint that internal discussions are ongoing, with management seeking to contain the situation before it becomes public. Adding to the tension, sources claim that the locker room atmosphere has become increasingly polarized, with some players allegedly taking sides and others reportedly attempting to mediate between the coach and the aggrieved athlete. Insiders speculate that this schism could have long-term consequences for team cohesion, particularly during high-stakes games where unity is essential for success. According to unconfirmed reports, Mazzulla's statement was delivered in a moment of intense emotion, following a sequence of perceived mistakes or insubordination, fueling whispers that the coach may be willing to make radical decisions to assert authority. Analysts suggest that such internal drama, while often dismissed as routine in professional sports, carries the potential to destabilize even the most talented rosters as players adjust their performances and interactions based on the prevailing climate of tension. Fans are reportedly consuming every available detail voraciously, with forums, podcasts, and social media posts dissecting each nuance of Mazzulla's comments and alleged body language. Speculation abounds regarding possible repercussions, from benching key players to trades or even staff restructuring, and insiders claim that the situation is being closely monitored by league officials concerned about precedent and public perception. As the Celtics prepare for upcoming games, the question of how this controversy will impact both strategy and morale remains a central topic of discussion. Rumors have intensified that the conflict may extend beyond the immediate player-coach relationship, potentially influencing the Celtics' organizational decisions and broader NBA narratives. Sources hint that executives have been quietly evaluating options to manage the fallout, ranging from private meetings with both parties to contingency planning for lineup adjustments or mid-season trades. Observers note that Mazzulla's reputation as a passionate and sometimes volatile coach may have contributed to this eruption, and insiders suggest that his comments reflect both frustration with recent performance and a desire to establish strict discipline and accountability. The media landscape has reportedly seized on this development, generating intense speculation that feeds on leaks, offhand remarks, and unnamed sources within the organization, creating a rumor mill that seems impossible to stop. Fans and analysts alike are theorizing about hidden tensions, historical grievances, and the impact of personalities, drawing complex narratives that could shape the Celtics' public image for months. Sports commentators are reportedly weighing in on whether Mazzulla's approach is strategically sound or counterproductive, debating the balance between fiery motivation and disruptive behavior, as whispers of locker room divisions continue to circulate. In Boston Celtics' remaining schedule may exacerbate internal pressures, with upcoming matchups providing both opportunities for redemption and potential flashpoints for conflict. Rumors indicate that Mazzulla is under intense scrutiny from management, fans, and media alike, with every coaching decision, substitution, and timeout analyzed for signs of discord. Allegedly, the player targeted by his comments has been maintaining professionalism publicly, but whispers suggest that private conversations behind closed doors have been tense, creating an atmosphere ripe for speculation. Analysts posit that the psychological impact of this tension could influence performance on both ends of the court, as players navigate divided loyalties and adjust to a coach whose outburst has become the center of attention. Social media chatter, insider reports, and fan forums continue to speculate about potential trades, coaching strategies, or even public reconciliations designed to contain the narrative. According to sources, management is considering multiple approaches to resolve the situation, from conflict mediation to strategic roster changes, though no decisions have been confirmed, keeping rumor mills active. The Celtics' internal crisis appears poised to dominate headlines for the foreseeable future, as both fans and experts debate whether this will mark a turning point or a prolonged period of tension for one of the NBA's most storied franchises. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.